Hey, I'm Carl Hood with Analog Way, and welcome to my office hours. So one of the Aquilon's most powerful features is its Auxes. The auxiliary outputs and auxiliary screens in the Aquilon have their own scalable, usable layers, which is incredible, but what makes them really powerful is the fact that they're actually processed outside of the VPU. So when you use Auxes, it's kind of like free resources. You don't actually tap into the VPU that feeds your layers and outputs that you use on your main screen. So let's take a look at building a very simple two-layer Auxes in WebRCS. So in WebRCS, we're going to build a new Auxes for this setup here. We've already got a couple screens, but to do our Auxes, we're going to go into preconfig. And then we're going to go to outputs, because the very first thing we have to do is tell the Aquilon that one of our outputs needs to be an aux output. So we're going to click on, let's say, output 5. Let's kind of label it DSM. That's what we're going to use it for in this example. Over here on the right, I'm going to click on aux. Now you'll notice I actually have multiple options for how many layers I can put on the aux. In this little video, we're just going to do 2 layers, but in another video, we're actually taking a look at using multiple 4, 6, or 8 layers on the aux. Now, in this case, even if it's a 2-layer aux, I can separately decide how big or how small I want my aux to be. So in this case, maybe it's a really big, like 50 or 5 or 65-inch monitor that we're using for this DSM. And so maybe it is pretty high res, so we can tell the Aquilon to send as a UHD aux. Now this doesn't change how many layers it can do, this doesn't change what the layers can do themselves. It really doesn't take any more processing than it would if it were 1080p. So let's go ahead and hit apply here. Now, all we have to do is go put that aux on an aux screen. And at this point, we basically established that output 5 is an aux output, it's got 2 layers, and it's going to live on aux screen 1, which we can also label DSM. When I go back to my main page for live operation, you'll notice that now I have a DSM, or specifically an aux, which I've called DSM, that lives here. Now let me hide my other main screens here so I can focus on the DSM. I can build a look with these layers now. I've got a couple layers. There's layer 2, there's layer 1. I can move these around, I can scale these, I can do whatever I want. And notice I have a preview just as well as I have a program side of this screen. So these layers are, like I said, fully functional. They have a bunch of layer properties like you can see over here on the right that I can play with, and they do dissolve, right? So I can switch on this aux. I can kind of have nice dissolves, nice transitions. I can move these layers around, but we'll get into all those details in a future video. Right now, let's just set up a basic aux here. So let's say we've got this video, which we're going to pretend this is sort of our main presentation or notes or something, right? Something that the speaker would want to see on their DSM. So let's go ahead and put this on layer 1 like we did. Let's full screen this layer, and then let's actually go ahead and find a timer and put that on layer 2. Now, this timer layer, what we're going to want to do is layer it right on top of our actual content here, this sort of Auxes video. So for now, what I'm going to do is full screen, turn off my aspect lock, and then basically just reduce this timer layer down to, I don't know, how big is it right now? Sure, let's make it 400 tall. Why not? And then if I want to, I can adjust it so that it's flush with the top of the screen. This layer with my main content, I don't necessarily want this to be the full height of the screen. I really want it to be 2160 minus 400, right? So let's go for 1760, and let's go ahead and snap it to the bottom of the screen, just like that. Now, if I were to look at the output in real life, it would look like what I see here. You'd have a little bit of pillar boxing or letter boxing over here on the sides, and then my timer would be super tiny. But what I can do with this timer is that I can actually crop it because it's on a layer. And aux layers have properties just like regular layers. So what I can do is I can crop it by a certain amount from the top and maybe a certain amount from the bottom, right, to get the numbers bigger, right? So in this case, it looks like maybe a 30% and 30% would actually kind of get me to where I want to be, right? Something like that. And so now in real life, what I would see as the speaker is my content taking up most of the screen, and then a timer on top of that, all on the same display that gives me either, in this case, time of day, or this could be a countdown or count up or whatever. And this simplifies my setup because now instead of having 2 or more monitors per speaker per little DSM cluster, I could just have one, maybe even bigger monitor with multiple layers. And the beautiful thing about this, which we'll explore in another video, is that this look is savable as a preset, and I can reload this to any other aux or reload any other preset to this aux as well. So I can switch what this will look like on screen. In fact, if I hit take, you'll notice that now that's up on program, and now I can have something entirely different here on preview, right? Like a 50-50 maybe. You can have this presentation with another one, or something like that. So that's how to set up a basic 2-layer aux. Like I mentioned earlier, auxes are immensely powerful, so do not sleep on this feature in the Aquilon. Be sure to check out my other office hours videos for more tips and tricks. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.